Good morning. I'm John Ewell, your worship associate for today. West Shore Unitarian Universalist Church is a religious congregation and community that strives to be anti-racist, anti-oppression, and multicultural in our deeds and practices. We warmly welcome all people, no matter their race, ethnicity, age, sexual orientation, gender, socioeconomic class, abilities, or disabilities. A special welcome is extended to those who are visiting West Shore for the first time and may be seeking a new spiritual home. We invite you to chat with a member after service. Visit our Welcome Center in the hall across from the office. Our membership and engagement coordinator, Diane Elkhorn, would love to reach out to you. Her contact information is being added to the chat as we speak. Now, some quick announcements. Each Friday, we receive the e-news to learn about events and activities going on in this week in our community. Of special note is our annual in-gathering service. It will be held Sunday on September 11th. It will be a very special service. For the first time, it will feature the music of the Solid Brass Ensemble from Lorain County, an 8-member ensemble. In-gathering is also a time of the year when we observe our beautiful water communion celebration. Be sure to bring a small container of water with you to church so you can participate. This water is supposed to represent something personally memorable and valuable to you. Following that service will be a fun for all ages picnic. Yay, huh? Join us for food, music, a water balloon toss, a bouncy house. I think I'll skip the bouncy house. Fresh cotton candy, and, wait for it, a pie throwing at the senior minister. You know, that feels good. I've got to say that again. A pie throwing, there he is. Very courageous, very courageous. We will need volunteers for this activity for food prep, cleanup, and we'll have a table in the rotunda for sign-ups. Thank you for joining us today. We are glad you're here. The chalice. We light it each Sunday. And may the words of Christine Robinson reconnect us to the symbolic meanings of this chalice. We gather this hour as a people of faith, with joys and sorrows, gifts and needs. We light this beacon of hope, sign of our quest for truth and meaning in the celebration of the life we share together.
Let us now witness to the unity of our spirit by saying together our unison affirmation words. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. This is our great covenant. to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. El amor es el espíritu de esta iglesia y el servicio suele. Este es nuestro magnífico convenio, vivir juntos en paz, buscar la verdad en el amor y ayudarnos los unos a los otros.
We come to this good morning, remembering the journey of freedom. The land we are on was once another's. We mourn the legacies of oppression. Healing is our way forward. Joy is the birthright of all.
Before anything else, on this Labor Day weekend, let us thank labor unions. Yes. Yes. Let us thank them for how, since the late 19th century, they have fought for the humane treatment of workers and brought in such things as child labor laws, overtime pay, minimum wage, workmen's compensation insurance, and also a little thing that we like to call the weekend. The state of the workplace today, we all know, is in flux, but right now there can be such gratitude for the progress that has been won so far. And now we turn to our greeting time. And usually we greet the folks nearby with an elbow bump, a handshake, or whatever feels mutually comfortable. And we can still do that today, but since today's topic is the wisdom of play, we're going to be a little more playful around this, a little more festive. A little more festive. All right, release the balls. Release the balls. So you can gotta greet each other while the balls are flying. So here we go. Let's not hurt each other. Let's not hurt each other. Let's just keep the balls in the air while we're greeting each other. Hello. It's good. Here we go. Don't hurt you. Don't hurt each other. Here we go. Oh, yeah. Here we go. All right, ushers, let's gather up those balls. We got to keep moving this thing forward. Just a little bit of fun. Just a little bit of fun with your church family. We're hiding those balls because I really want you to hear my sermon later on. So, just saying. So we're going to turn to our first hymn of the day. It's Let It Be a Dance. Do y'all know that? Do y'all know that hymn? Let It Be a Dance, number 311. Please rise in body or in spirit. If you know this song, you know that there's going to be a line at some point that says, everybody turn and spin. Please feel free to do that. After the beach balls, that should be simple, right? So here we go. Let's do it.
Wow. Whew. Well, today's reading is a medley of poems by Shel Silverstein, a poet who made children smile around the world with illustrated poetry and collections like Where the Sidewalk Ends, A Light in the Attic, Falling Up, and everything on it. Even though he himself lost a daughter to a cerebral aneurysm when she was 11. Shel Silverstein was also a Korean War veteran who espoused peace. It may be that only Dr. Seuss combined whimsy and profundity, imagination and insight as deftly as Silverstein did. Enjoy this medley of playful poetry. Something's missing. I remember I put on my socks. I remember I put on my shoes. I remember I put on my tie. That was printed in beautiful purple and blue. I remember I put on my coat to look perfectly grand at the dance. Yet I feel there's something I forgot. What is it? What is it? A second reading. I won't hatch. Oh, I'm a chicken who lives in an egg, and I will not hatch. Well, the hens, they all cackle. The roosters all beg. But I will not hatch. I will not hatch. For I hear all the talk of pollution and war, as people all shout and airplanes roar. So I'm staying in here where it's safe and it's warm, and I will not hatch. Now, the next reading reminded me of my childhood. Probably every kid, all of us, may relate to this. I remember I had a very nice bedroom, and my boxing equipment is one corner, and the clothes were, there were school clothes and play clothes, remember that? And you'd throw your school clothes on the bed. There were supposed to be play clothes next year. And you put on your play clothes and sped out the door. Well, as all children, occasionally my father would appear, and he'd look around and he'd say, "John, this room is a hoorah's nest." And I said, "Dad?" He was very jovial about it. I said, "What's a hoorah?" "A very messy bird." So this is messy room. Whosever room this is should be ashamed. His underwear is hanging on the lamp. His raincoat is in the overstuffed chair. And the chair's becoming quite murky and damp. His workbook is wedged in the window. His sweater's been thrown on the floor. His scarf and ski are under the TV. His pants have been carelessly hung on the door. No, his books are jammed in the closet. His vest, he left it in the hall. A lizard named Fred is asleep on his bed. And his smelly old sock has been Stuck on the wall. Whosever room this should be ashamed. Donald or Robert or Willie or, huh? You say it was mine? Oh dear. I knew it looked familiar. Next piece is called Invitation. If you're a dreamer, come in. If you're a dreamer, a wisher, a liar, a hoper, a prayer, a magic bean buyer, if you're a pretender, come sit by my fire. For we have some flax golden tales to spin. Come in, come in. Here ends today's reading.
That's John Yule. Woo! And now let us change up the energy somewhat. Let us pause, enter into a time of silent reflection. And then I invite everyone to take a deep in-breath with me. Just to let that air out. Let's do that one more time. A deep in-breath. To let that breath all the way out. Roll your shoulders. Roll your neck if that feels good for you. Allow your body to relax in this moment. Let us now enter into the wise silence together. And now, all are welcome to come forward to share from the heart an intention, a hope, a prayer, by placing a stone or writing down your thought on a card. And know that whatever you happen to write down on a card will be held in confidence. And if you request a follow-up, I or a member of our pastoral care team will contact you. joys and sorrows of our hearts, which I will take into my meditation this week for all that is our life. All that is
our life, we sing our thanks and praise. For all life is a gift, which we are called to use to build the common good and make our own days glad.
I want to thank the 37 West Shore members that attended our hospitality training on August 27th, and also to all the other volunteers that weren't able to attend but step up every day and every Sunday to make our church a warm and welcoming place. One of the learnings at the hospitality training was that the single most important factor in determining whether visitors return to a church is how friendly they find the congregation, and that they make this determination 10 minutes within the first 10 minutes of their time here. I also want to know if you know that everyone here is actually a part of the hospitality team. Whether you formally serve as an usher or a greeter or whatever, you don't have to have a specific role. You're just a part of this place, and your energy and your sense of friendliness and connection, they help to make this the hospitable place that it is. People are coming and they're searching for a spiritual home, a place that can be their spiritual home, and you're a part of that search. So I want to share a couple things that might help us all to increase the spirit of hospitality in this space so we can help people as they're on their spiritual journey. 7 different things that you can say that help to weave that web of friendship and community. One is simply this: thank you for being here. Thank you for being here. It feels good to hear that when, as a newcomer, you are really getting out of your comfort zone to be here to check this place out. So yes, if you're here for the first time or the second time, thank you for being here. A second thing you might consider saying is, let me help you with that. If you see someone struggling with umbrellas or young children or diaper bags or purses or whatever the other items may be, a gesture to hold them or to help them is a huge positive. Of course, this comment is appropriate for anybody here if someone looks like they need help to step up and help them. Number 3, please take my seat. Please take my seat. There's nothing more off-putting than when you're trying to find a seat and people who are already seated are ignoring you. It's an opportunity to look around, to be on the lookout, to see if you can be helpful to someone who's trying to find a comfortable place. A fourth thing to think of saying: can I show you where you are wanting to go? Even in smaller churches, guests will not know where to find the nursery or the restrooms or coffee hour. And you can usually tell when a guest they're not finding what they're looking for, so you can be helpful in that way. Number 5 is something that you might think of saying in coffee hour. Something like this: hi, my name is your name, and I've been a member here at West Shore for however long. I still haven't met everyone yet. Is this your first visit with us? Something like that. This is a great conversation opener in coffee hour. We have to acknowledge that we're a large church, and there's going to be members who've been here for a while who have never met. That's just the way it is. So it's good to acknowledge that when we are approaching someone we haven't met before. Number 6, sixth possibility here. Do you have any questions about West Shore that I might help with? It's yet another great question to ask a newcomer. We want to help them to get us to know better. And now finally, number 7, lucky number 7, let me introduce you to blank, someone. Newcomers just feel more connected when they are introduced to more people. Find me and introduce them to me. I love that. I love to meet the folks that are here for the first or second or third time. You can introduce them to other church staff. You can introduce them to other volunteers, other members of the church. It's just a great way to just start to weave those webs of connection. If a person finds 5 friends in their church community, they will stay for a long time. So let's help that. We all want to be woven into that web of community. So just a couple tips about how we can all contribute in making our congregation the welcoming congregation in all senses of that word, that phrase that we want it to be. This world is tough. This world is tough at times, and this church can be a lifeline for so many people. It is a gift for us to give to as many people as possible. So I want to thank you for your gifts of time, treasure, talent that you share to make this place what it is. The morning's offering will now be given and gratefully received.
So now it's my turn to be playful. We're going to play Name That Tune. So as soon as I finish with a little segment of each one, holler out the answer so we hear it, and you'll get the ding. Some of them are easy. TV show. The movie. Composer. If you're fond of sand dunes and salt. Nobody knows? Old Cape Cod. Oh. All right, the last one.
Nasruddin is a fictional character in the folklore of the Muslim world from the Balkans to China, and a hero of numerous stories, like this one, on a day when he was invited to deliver a sermon to the faithful. Mullah Nasruddin, he steps into the pulpit. First thing out of his mouth is, "Do you know what I am going to say?" The response is, "No." And at that he announces, "Well, I have no desire to speak to people who don't even know what I am talking about." And he leaves. And the people are amazed and embarrassed and confused. But maybe they have simply misunderstood. So they call him back for the following Sunday. And again, immediately, as Mullah Nasruddin steps into that pulpit, he asks the people if he knows what he is going to say. This time, they reply, "Yes." "Well," he says, "since you already know what I'm going to say, I won't waste any more of your time." And then he leaves. Well, the people are completely flummoxed by now. They decided to try one more time and invite the mullah to speak in their pulpit. And upon entering that pulpit, he asked the same question that he did before. "Do you know what I am going to say?" But it is said, forewarned is forearmed, and so half of the congregation answers yes, the other half answers no. Unfazed, the Mullah Nasruddin says, "Let the half who know what I am going to say tell it to the other half who don't." And then he leaves. And that's the story. And I can't say I wasn't tempted to follow the Mullah Nasruddin's lead with you guys. Let the chips fall where they may. That would be playful, right? In a sermon about the wisdom of playfulness, it would probably be a very short sermon, though. And frankly, I'm not really even sure what Islam's holy fool was trying to get at, beyond doing anything he could to not have to prepare a sermon for a Sunday to get out of that. He was getting out of that. But I think there's also this other thing he was doing, and that is playing by a different set of rules than the rest of us, than certainly his hearers. Everyone else sees the duck, and what does he see? The rabbit, right? Everyone else sees a goblet, but he sees two faces, right? He's coming at things from a very different angle. And that is definitely a part of what makes up the wisdom of play. I want you to listen to this wonderful story that comes from Dr. Peter Gray. He's a Boston College psychology professor. It puts a smile on my face every time. This is what he says. He writes, "A few years ago, I had an experience that helped me see the difference between play and play. I was invited by two 10-year-old girls, whom I knew very well, to play a game of Scrabble. Now, I've played a fair amount of Scrabble in my life, and I am not bad at it. The two girls, in contrast, were complete beginners. So I saw this as an opportunity to teach them. I would teach them the rules. I would teach them some of the strategies behind Scrabble. I would be their Scrabble mentor. But as it turned out," he says, "they taught me something way more important than Scrabble. They loved the basic situation, taking turns and putting down letters, interlocking with each other sets in a crossword fashion, making interesting designs. They liked that of letters on the scoreboard. But they had no interest at all in keeping score. And the idea of limiting themselves to real, actual words, words that can be found in a dictionary, that bored them. They very quickly and effortlessly, with no overt discussion at all, and despite my initial protests, developed their own rules and strategy." So Dr. Gray continues, their unstated but obvious goal on each turn was to put down the longest, funniest word, nonsense word, that they could. using as many letters as possible from their rack, combined with at least one letter on the board. It had to follow the rules of English phonology, which means it had to sound like it could be a word, but it could not be an actual word. The object was not to score points, but to make each other laugh. That was the object. And they laughed, they laughed. They laughed like only two high-spirited 10-year-old girls who have long been best friends can laugh. Now, sometimes one would challenge the other's word, asking for a definition, and the other would offer a hysterical definition that somehow seemed to fit with the way the word sounded. And then they would laugh even harder. Dr. Gray goes, as I pulled back and watched them and began to laugh along with them, I realized something. I realized that my way of playing isn't play. It's not play. I realized that I used to play like that as a child. What the heck had happened to me since then? And that's Dr. Gray. That's what he says. And note how he thought that he was going to be teaching the girls a thing or two, but ultimately they pulled a Mullah Nasruddin on him. Do you see that? They pulled a Mullah Nasruddin on him, and in the end, he was left wondering what the heck had happened to him in his life, because he could no longer play like that. Because play like that is what aliveness looks like. Play like that is full of all good things. As a wise person once said, you can discover more about a person in an hour of play than in a year of conversation. What do you think about that? And already we are deep into our subject. Part of it has to do with what makes play play. 5 factors, each of which that Scrabble story illustrates. One factor is that the activity is freely entered into. For the 2 girls playing Scrabble, there's absolutely no feeling of being pushed into something against their will. There's no sense that it is impossible to quit either. If a person feels coerced or forced, it's not freedom, and therefore it is not playful. As for the second thing that makes play play, think for a moment about how the girls are self-determining. They are free agents. They determine their own rules and strategy, even in the face of Dr. Gray's protest. Dr. Gray thinks that he knows best. How many people in your life think that they know best for you, right? He thinks they know best for them, but it's not going to be playful if those girls are feeling micromanaged down to the details. And it's going to be the same for us. Which takes us immediately to the third factor in all playfulness, and that is imagination. Scrabble, in conventional reality, in usual reality, aims at real, actual words. But the girls aim for nonsense words, which need to at least sound real, and which are as long and as silly as possible. They even invent definitions to fit the way the fake words sound. In the hands of imagination, everything can be different than what it is, or more than what it is. Imagination can even go so far as to find windows where there are walls. Its writer, Jules Verne, in 1870, in this book he wrote entitled 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, he is fantasizing in that book about electric submarines. And eventually the science catches up with him and is able to transform that imaginative fantasy into reality, make it come true. Maybe this is why Einstein once said in his 1933 book entitled Cosmic Religion and Other Opinions and Aphorisms, this is what he says: imagination is more important than knowledge. Einstein really said that. And at least as I am reading it, he is suggesting that the importance of imagination is about how it can be practically useful, how the usefulness can be tremendous. But the irony here is that the emphasis on usefulness actually violates the fourth factor of genuine play, which we're now moving on to. The fourth factor of genuine play is that it is primarily for the sake of fun and not necessarily for any usefulness at all. Our Scrabble-playing girls are by no means endeavoring to create new words and thereby to improve the English language. That is not what they are doing. They just want to make each other giggle. They just want to make each other guffaw. They just want to make each other like whatever they happen to be drinking, it's going to come out of their nostrils, right? That's what they're wanting to do. That's the main thing in any activity that qualifies as genuine play. Of course, there can be practical side effects, but that is not principally why you do it. Finally, there is a fifth factor in all genuine playfulness, and it's this: you are completely absorbed, intensely, utterly. You are focused on what is happening. You are in the flow. Time stands still, or just time just moves so fast you can't believe that so much time passed while you were in that flow. You are in the sweet spot. Above all, you are not distressed. You are not afraid of failure. You are not distracted by anything else. The path to learning how might take you through the valley of the shadow of awkwardness, or you may appear foolish, but you are not afraid. You give yourself to the process, no matter how messy. All five of these things, this is what makes play, activity that is freely entered into. It is self-determining. It is full of imagination. It is valuable in itself, and it is characterized by a mindset of utter absorption. Play sounds pretty sweet, right? Or maybe not. I don't know. I only saw one person's head like this. Is play sweet? Is it sweet? Can someone say amen? Preachers feel a little awkward when there's not much coming to him. You know, what is amazing is how evolution, and evolution is ruthless in its practicality. If you have looked into evolution, you know it is ruthless in its practicality. But the thing about it is evolution seems to love playfulness. It seems to love playfulness. There is a reason why the puzzle game on my smartphone called Candy Crush Saga, or Saga, right? Who are my Candy Crush Saga people in this space right here? I know there's one, my girlfriend. Candy Crush Saga. It has inspired players to spend $1.33 billion on in-app purchases. You know what I mean by that? In-app purchases. That was just in the year 2014 alone. $1.33 billion. That money, that actual money was used to buy virtual stuff like extra lives, extra moves, color bombs, lollipop hammers, and on and on. Actual money used to buy lollipop hammers? And you know, this is not personal depravity that is the reason for this, or immaturity, or something else that's bad. It is because play develops your mind and heart, and it keeps you sharp. It is because play also provides safe outlets for releasing aggressive impulses. Who has not witnessed a generous, sweet friend who at the game board turns into some competitive cutthroat? Who has not seen that? I saw it last night with my girlfriend. Oh my God, she kicked my butt. I'm just saying. But you know, that's okay. That's a part of the fun, isn't it? Isn't that a part of the fun? And after the game, people kind of go back to their usual sweetness. We hope. You know, more generally, play teaches kids, it really does, how to regulate fear and anger. Play that is of the especially riskier kinds. Now, let me speak to this. The especially riskier kinds, as in climbing heights, going fast, chasing and being chased, wrestling, wandering and getting lost and then getting found, and on and on. When such riskier kinds of play are made unavailable, Scientists have found that emotional disorders in children actually increase. Did you know that? That when as parents we helicopter our children, when we bubble wrap them, what we're really doing is we're taking away key opportunities for them to grow emotionally. There's just so many reasons why play is not a luxury, but a necessity. It is because play teaches people how to take turns. How about that for the basis of civilization, right? Taking turns. It's because play gives people the opportunity to connect and to socialize. This is why, by the way, video games have not killed off the more traditional board games, right? Where people actually have to sit around the same table together. And when you think about that traditional board game, it has the quality of a campfire, doesn't it? We kind of come around it and enjoy each other. People gather around it, become friends. It is because play energizes the imagination and can actually open doors to new insights and to new connections. And I want to take a moment with this particular piece in particular. There's a fascinating finding in developmental psychology I want you to know about. It's worth looking into. To start, consider the following argument. Okay, follow me here. All cats bark. Like I said, follow me here, okay, all right? All cats bark. Muffins is a cat. Therefore, Muffins barks, right? Or rather, in the original experiment, that conclusion was, does Muffins bark? Well, and the thing is classic psychological theory says that children under 10 or 11, children under that age, they don't know how to let logic dictate. They have not developed mentally enough, right, to let the logic simply dictate. They just don't know how to allow for that. And as it turns out, when these British researchers put syllogisms, an argument like the one about muffins, put an argument like that before these young children, and did so in a serious, sober tone, the kids couldn't solve the syllogism. They kept on insisting that cats don't bark, they meow. They kept on insisting that. They just couldn't let the logic just have its way with them. But now I want you to listen to this. When those same British researchers presented the exact same logic problem in a playful tone of voice, using words that made it clear that they were talking about a pretend world, children as young as 4 years old could solve that syllogism. Children as young as 2 years old could come to the right conclusion. And this was completely contrary to what the science had to say about what children are capable of. Is that not amazing? How everything changes when we shift from a serious tone of voice to a playful tone of voice. For this reason, and for all the other reasons I have mentioned, evolution, which is ruthless in its practicality, right? Ruthless. Evolution loves playfulness. Nevertheless, just like Dr. Gray, in that Scrabble story from earlier, we might find ourselves remembering how we used to play, like the two girls in that story, how we used to be able to easily get into that Mullah Nasruddin space, but maybe no longer. Something has happened to us over the course of our lives. Playfulness got knocked out of us. We're no longer in contact with our playful nature, and I want to emphasize the word nature. How? Why? Well, I want you to think about the sound of fun. The sound of fun is loud, okay? Like when we did our greeting time, and I had these balls. By the way, I blew up all of these balls for you. I blew up all these beach balls. I almost fell over. I almost fainted for you. I did it for you. So anyhow, when we launched these beach balls, did you hear how it was like, "Rah!" Which is great. We want our greeting time to be loud. We want our coffee hour time to be loud because loud is the sound of fun. But you know what? when you are holding pain in your body, when you are holding pain, you don't want to hear anything loud. Do you feel me on that? You don't want to hear anything loud. Children should be seen but not heard. Oh, I grew up with that. How many of you grew up with that? Yeah. And then, of course, we repeat that for our children. Children should be seen but not heard. But you know, it's not really about the kids. It is about the adults with trauma hangovers. And they can't bear fun happening around them. And so they squash it wherever it pops up. It's not hard, after all, to explain how our lives have gone contrary to nature. It's not hard, after all. Adult pain, adult fear. Evolution has designed children to know innately the difference between real and pretend. And so one day, now listen, one day you catch your son playing cops and robbers with a toy gun. Actually, it could just be this. You catch your kid playing cops and robbers with a toy gun. And he is shooting that gun for all it is worth, and it scares you to death because you know all about the ugliness of gun violence. And as a parent, you know that your kid's behaviors right now may be an indication of an enduring trait as opposed to just a phase. Which one it is, well, how can you tell up front? So what do? You worry. You are a parent. That's what parents do. They worry. Our lives go contrary to nature, but it's not just about parents and children. If playfulness involves the freedom to enter into and to leave, I want you to think of all the ways in which you might be tied to a position, a job position that you cannot afford to leave. Or you're tied to a marriage, or you're tied to something else. Recently, someone told me about a job they were tied to with what they called golden shackles. It's good money, but it's soul killing. Ugh. If playfulness involves the ability of choosing exactly how you will play, I want you to think of all the ways in which people of all ages are micromanaged. At school, at work, at home. You know, there are some schools at which this thing happens. Children come home every day with a color that indicates what their behavior has been like like at school that day. They get no slack at all. Every day is a judgment. Every day is a judgment. They come home every day with a color. And every day their parents have got to deal with it. Ugh. If playfulness involves doing something just for fun, think of all the messages we receive about getting on track, growing up, getting a life. Don't get that degree in philosophy. Don't get that degree in studio art. What are you thinking? How are you going to make any money with a degree like that? Ugh. If playfulness involves full absorption in what you are doing without any distress or pressure, just watch the evening news. Just allow the pain of this world to pour in, and that's going to make you feel plenty distracted and plenty distressed. If playfulness involves imagination, just think of all the ways in which the world wants us to be serious and literalistic, all the literalism and conservatism out there, in here, out there mostly, that creates religions that are shallow and violent, right? Conservative, fundamentalist religions, all that literalism and If we could just flip the joylessness script for a moment. If we could just channel the Mullah Nasruddin just a little bit into our lives. Muslims say this. Muslims say, take one step towards God, and God takes 7 steps towards you. Walk to God, they say, and God comes running. If playfulness is anything, it is God energy stirring within us. Would you like to take one more step? Would you like to start walking? Wow, that was a real question. Can we make that shift in our lives more often? But the joylessness script, it runs so deep. Just trying to take that single step, just trying to start to walk can feel so hard. I want to tell you about the other day. I was at Marshall's. That's where I get a lot of my clothes, Marshall's, TJ Maxx, maybe you. So I was looking for some more silly socks to wear because I want to wear silly socks for you. You come and check out my silly socks later. Because I want to be playful for you, right? Silly socks. So I'm there at Marshall's and I'm looking for some more silly socks, and there were some kids playing chase down the aisle of Marshall's. And they were laughing and they were carrying on and they were having fun, which means what about the sound they was making? It was loud. And I just wanted them to shut up. It had been a long day. I was upset about stuff. And there I was, being contrary to the nature that stirs within me and wants you to be more playful, wants us to be more alive and vital, wants us to feel charged up with the electrical charge of the soul. Did I think I could really solve things by being a Grinch? I think there was a part of me that absolutely did. And why do I keep thinking that? Again and again, the playful approach is the powerful approach. It releases 4-year-olds, never mind the 10 to 11-year-olds, to solve logic problems that science says are impossible for them to solve. It motivates people to climb stairs and to be healthier rather than to take the easier way via the escalator, as we saw a moment ago in the video. What other kinds of problem solving might the playful approach make possible here in this church, here in your world, your own world, your work world, your personal world? The holy fool of Muslim culture, the Mullah Nasruddin. We might be amazed at what happens next were we to channel even a little bit of his playful energy into our lives. Maybe it's the playful approach that could help each of us solve something that has been burdening us these days. Maybe. Amen. Amen. Let's rise in body and spirit, sing our closing hymn, number 338, I Seek the Spirit of a Child.
Please join me in saying our chalice extinguishing words. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth or the warmth of commitment or the fire of commitment. These we carry with us until we meet again.
Just a reminder before the benediction words, I'm going to be leading the sermon chat at noon there in the chapel. It is always a rich conversation, a time for each of us to learn from each other, to share to each other. It's just a wonderful experience. So I invite you to come at noon today. Now, what about this? What is that? Well, let me show you. John Yule. John's like pieing the minister. That's so great, right? Right? So here's what I'm going to be wearing while you pie me in the face. Dorothy Richards. Dorothy Richards. Dorothy, stand so these people can like worship you for your creativity. This is Dorothy Richards' fault. Hot dog, yeah, right. All right, now the benediction words. By Shel Silverstein. He says, listen to the mustn'ts, child. Listen to the don'ts. Listen to the shouldn'ts. The impossible, the won'ts. Listen to the never haves. Then listen close to me. Anything can happen, child. Anything can be. So may it be. Go in peace.